Aloha, my friends. In today's video, we're going to talk about victimhood mentality. And you may not even be aware you're living in it. But the first thing to understand is that it's never about the other person. And if you hang out until the end of the video, I'm going to give you 5 techniques to flip around victimhood mentality and live in herohood, or take full control of your life and actually shift your life permanently, and not just for a little while, but consistently for your entire life, if you stick to those habits that I'll teach you. So part of this is that some people don't even realize they're living in victimhood. They wouldn't call themselves a victim. So two sides of this is that it's when a person sees themselves as a victim and that of life circumstances, or a victim of things that have happened to them. The other part of this is when people don't realize they're living as a victim and they're blaming others. They're blaming society. They're blaming past traumas, current struggles, without taking responsibility for what is their part of it. And so that's what I mean by it's never about the other person. Even if you've been abused or had sexual assault or had your heart broken or fired from a job unjustly, or the world and the economy changed and you weren't able to keep up and now you're in debt or so forth, it's never about the external circumstance or the other people. It's only about you and the story you tell yourself based on that event. So sometimes, especially when it comes to abuse victims, and these are clients I work with quite a bit, they label themselves as unworthy of love, or, oh, because this happened to me, I can't trust men, or I can't trust women, or whatever the story may be. And they may not be aware they're telling themselves that story. But as an example of this can be where, oh, it's hard for me to trust men because my father was physically abusive to me. And because he was physically abusive to me, I don't ever know if a man is going to be someone that I can actually trust and is going to show up authentically. What if they're just looking at me to use me and abuse me, or if they're looking at a way to just get what they need out of me, or what if they'll fly off the handle and slap me around again and so forth. Now, those are all the subconscious story that's going on. It's what the subconscious begins to play. And so the stories we tell ourselves is what makes up into the thing. So when we're blaming other people, or even if we're just feeling powerless or helpless, or there's no way that we could change, and the world is wrong and we're just stuck in the circumstance and that's just how it is, period. That's victimhood mentality. And so to get out of victimhood, the best way is to begin to take responsibility for it, to look at it and realize it's never about the other person. It's only about ourselves and what we're going to do about it. So an example of this could be that there was a time I was working for a personal development company where we did best version of yourselves retreats. And as that was going on, it was a nonprofit organization, but a nonprofit still makes money to pay the employees, makes money to pay the facilitator and the coach that's doing things. It just means that we're not making a lot of profit where it's a huge deal. But part of that was that this company was attached to several other companies. And for some reason, the nonprofit could just never break even, couldn't break even. It was always like, we have money come in, but then we've got to pull from these other companies to pay the employees or to pay the facilitator or so forth. And it finally came clear there was someone parasiting off of the company. They were actually embezzling and taking a little bit off, skimming off of the nonprofit and just writing it in a way. But it took 6 to 7 months to even catch that something was going on, and almost another 6 months to figure out who it was. And, when that happened, we had to hit a pause on those best version of yourself trainings, and that company needed to fold and do a lot of internal investigation and figure things out. And so I could have sat around and go, oh man, this person, this woman that was parasiting off of the company, she's just like gold diggers I've had in the past in my life, that I dated and just used me for money. It's just like people that were always just looking to take advantage of me and saw that I had something and try to ride my coattails to the top. It's just like my mother, twisting things to be a way that I had to show up a certain way to receive her love, because if I didn't show up the right way, if I didn't show up as a good little Christian boy, then I wasn't loved. Unconditional love wasn't there. And I could relate it all back to these stories and see the similar patterns. But if I'm sitting there saying, oh, it's this gold digger's fault. It's my mom's fault. It's this person that's parasiting off the company's fault. And now this company just falls apart and I don't get a coach anymore and I don't get to lead retreats anymore, all because of them. That's where my career would have ended. But I chose not to do that and go, well, that sucks. What am I going to do about it? What am I going to do? Am I going to lead the story of this company fails because of someone else? Or am I going to go start my own thing and go do my own coaching and my own personal development retreats and so forth? And so that's what I did. I stepped into that, and it was also the pressure I needed to make it happen. So there's this level of like, it's never about the other person, but also sometimes the worst thing that happens to us is the best thing for us. Another example of this is that I had a business partner years later, in 2022. We split ways, and we split ways due to two different occasions. He took $40,000 out of the account, so $80,000 total out of the account. The first one I was aware of. The second one I was not aware of. The first one was a conversation we had, and I was against the idea of him taking the $40,000 to go do some personal stuff with it and fix a Tesla that he wrecked on his own. He wrecked the Tesla. It's his own responsibility, not the business's, but I, was against it, but still allowed it because it was his half. And then later on took another $40,000 to fix things and to take himself out of debt, but didn't tell anyone. Just kind of took it out of there. And then essentially the business dissolved after that. And I had to go off on my own again and step away from someone. Now I could sit here and go, oh man, this guy stole this money from me. Man, this guy stole money from the company, and it began to fall down. And, so there's a kind of a pattern there of two different people taking from a company and then causing it to have huge ripple effects. That's a pattern that may be repeating, that I may be attracting people that are dishonest, or it could be the fact that it just happened. And what am I going to do about it? And so the idea is step up, defy the odds, set a new standard. And I'm using these business examples because these are heavier things that happen. And, some people hear, what, this guy took $80,000 from you or $40,000 twice? Don't you want to go get that back? Don't you want to, step up physically and do something about it? And it's like, yeah, there's anger about it. There's upset about it. And it's not spiritually bypassing the feeling where I just go, well, yeah, I'm just going to bliss out and good vibes only. It's no, that was upsetting. That hurt. But it really had nothing to do with me. It had to do with other people's decisions. And what am I going to do about it? To maybe take it a little bit more deeper, a little bit more personal, this can be even when people are blaming others for their circumstances of, oh, I had this crazy roommate and that took all my energy and time, and now I lost my motivation to create things. Or, oh, I wanted to create something with somebody, but I didn't know how to do it. And so I was just waiting for them to tell me how to do it. Or I didn't have the right equipment to record a YouTube video, or I didn't have the right software to create a course, or, oh, my audio failed a couple of times. And instead of Googling it or YouTubing it or going and seeking out a coach that could teach them how to do it, or find a professor or a teacher that had done this 100 times, they just give up and they go, well, I guess I'm just not good at this, so I just won't do it. And that's part of this crazy idea with living in victimhood, is blaming the outside source, blaming the external world, and then picking a new story and identifying with that new story. The idea of, business is just hard, so I just won't do that. Or, oh, relationships are hard. Or, women always cheat. Men always cheat on me. I'll just be single forever. Those are all things because something externally happened and we create a new story. And those stories run on the subconscious a lot of the time, but they become part of our identity. They become the way we identify ourselves. So when we identify ourselves as, this is hard to do, that can sometimes hold us back. Or if it's, this is hard to do, but I do hard things and I accomplish hard things, that makes a difference. And we break through to the other side and become a better version of ourselves. But when we're like, oh, this is hard, so I just don't do it, that becomes the identity and we give up on it. And so it's finding a way that we're not blaming others, or not living in the mentality of, this is just how things are, so nothing's going to change. So switching into herohood is taking responsibility, full accountability of it's my life. I'm the creator and the author of my life, and I get to decide what means what to me and how I'm going to choose to live. That doesn't mean that the past things go away. I grew up in an emotionally and physically abusive home, and that doesn't mean that those scars are just immediately erased, but I can decide that they don't define me. I can decide that, yes, that happened, and it holds as much weight to me as it does what I had for breakfast. As an example, you've healed something when it doesn't really fully trigger you, but also when you can talk about it, when you can say it clearly. When I can say, for breakfast, I had kachava this morning. And when I was growing up, I was taught that if I didn't show up a certain way, then God wouldn't love me. And if God doesn't love me, my parents don't love me. And if I don't go to church, I can get grounded or beat. And also, when I was about 16 years old, I was jumped by some guys and they beat me with a bat. And now I'm making this video for you because I've seen a lot of my clients have a hard time with victimhood, and they live in victimhood and not know. And so there must be more people than just my clients that are facing this out there that need to know that they can step into herohood. No, I shared some heavier things there, but they hold as much weight to me in my life as the fact that I drank kachava this morning for breakfast. As a matter of fact, the kachava probably holds a little bit more weight because I know it's doing good things for my body and I enjoy the taste of it and I enjoy the way I feel with it. But the idea is that I can talk about the abuse. I can talk about being attacked as a kid or as a teenager, I guess, and it doesn't hold me back. It's not a story. It's not a wall around my heart I'm living in. It's just facts. It happened. But what matters is what I'm going to do with it. So before I go into the 5 things that can shift you into herohood, I want to just explain a few things that people may say or viewpoint and don't realize they're in victimhood. So if any of these sound like you or someone you know, they may be living in victimhood. And then I'll give you some techniques to flip them and to reframe them and make this a different thing. And as we talked about, it's blaming others for their situations, avoiding accountability. It's not my fault. If only they didn't, ... Consistently complaining without taking action of, oh, this happened and this is really hard, or, oh, yeah, my audio failed in my recording. And so now I just can't record. Or, oh, this, over here happened and my landlord sucks. And so because my landlord sucks, then my rent got raised. And I guess, there's no way for me to ever get out of this job. Or, oh, I don't dare ask my boss for a raise because he's such a hardcore person and a strict person. He's going to know I'm trying to negotiate with him for a raise. Yeah, you're working for him. You want to get more money. What's wrong with asking for more? But the idea of, oh, I can't do that because asking for money is wrong, that's a story in the background. Or they reject feedback. Anytime someone gives them feedback, they view it as an attack. Now, feedback is just information. And what we do with that information is up to us. But if someone's like, hey, man, I know you said you wanted to go to the gym more often and you wanted to get to the point where you can run 5 miles in 30 minutes and be able to bench, 400 plus pounds. But I noticed you're eating a bag of chips. And those chips are super fattening. And it's not just one bag of chips, man. I feel like every time I see you, you got a Mountain Dew and a bag of chips that you're munching on. And they're like, you don't know my life. Don't tell me how to live my life. Like, that is they're taking the feedback as an attack versus a real friend going, hey, you said one thing and you're doing something different. That's weird. And they're like, you're attacking me. And then they get super offended. They believe the change in the world has to come from the outside, that there is some kind of savior that's going to come and save them and change their life. And I hate to break it to you, there is no one coming to save you from your life. There is no external person that is going to show up and just magically make everything in your life better and just give you tons of money without you having to do anything, or just be like, you know what? You're having a hard time. And here, let me change your emotional settings. Let me just reach inside of you and turn a little dial a couple times and shift this with you and so forth and just make you into a different person. It doesn't work that way. So there is no savior that's coming for you. You are the only hero in your life, and only you can save yourself. And then also protects. The other thing that people sometimes do is they project jealousy and resentment towards successful people. They see someone above them and they're like, oh yeah, well, they're only like that because they had a trust fund, or they're only like that because they jacked somebody else's ideas, or they're only like that because they just happened to get lucky and they fell into the right circumstance and were dealt the right cards. Maybe. Maybe they were dealt the right cards. Maybe they jacked off someone's idea. But whatever the reason is, if looking at someone else externally drains your energy, and then that becomes a reason why you can't do what you want to do with your life, then that's victimhood. So, flipping this into the positive side, what are some things that we can do to shift ourselves into a better version of ourselves? These are practices that you can do to shift yourself into victimhood. So to get out of victimhood into herohood, stop playing victim in your life, are these. And first is taking accountability, looking at the situation and going, where is this coming from? And so journaling is a very powerful technique. And journaling is sometimes is like underrated technique that people go, journaling. Like I hear it all the time. Get out a book and write this thing down and blah, blah, blah. But that's the point, is you think so much up here that when you write it down, your thoughts get more concise and they become words. And you can actually get a little bit clearer on what's blocking you or what's coming up. And then also you get to cathartically let it out of your system. You get to write it out of your system. It's similar to writing a letter to someone you're never going to send, that you're never going to give to somebody. So you can journal and go, what are my thoughts about this situation? And am I blaming others or am I empowering myself? So this can be, you look at, something, we'll give an example here. I have some neighbors that are building something in their backyard, and it's technically quite an eyesore. And it's a rented house next to me, and they're drilling into their wall. They're attaching to my fence. It's been kind of an issue to let them know they're not really supposed to attach stuff to my fence and so forth. But the thing is this weird, awkward frame, and it's got a really ragged tagged tarp over it. And it's been like that for weeks now. And it's a huge eyesore, and it's not in my yard, so I really shouldn't care, but I still have to see it, and it blocks my view of the mountains from my backyard. When I sit in my backyard, I can see the mountains, and it blocks my view from the mountains. And so maybe that's what it's really about. Now, does this really have anything to do with them? No, there's something inside of me that's triggering me. And so I can sit down and I can journal and go, okay, why does this bug me? And is it really about them, or am it empowering? Oh, it bugs me because it just looks really white trashy. And there's something about the idea of just keeping things in a ragtag, janked, trashy way bugs me. But also what really is it's blocking the view of the mountains that I have. Now, is this the only spot I can see the mountains from my house? No. Is it one of my favorites? Yeah. But I can also sit somewhere else in the backyard and look at the other mountains. Or I can go sit in the front yard and look at the mountains. Now, I like to be in the backyard with my dogs and they're doing their morning business and I'm enjoying the mountains, but I guess I'll just do a different kind of meditation. And maybe that thing won't always be there. Maybe they'll finally turn it into something that looks really cool and beautiful. But if when I look at it, it drains my energy, then I'm blaming them and I'm giving my energy to them. I'm saying that they have control over how I feel. So another technique that you can use that helps you shift out of victimhood is daily affirmations. It's focused on the choices and saying things to yourself about power and growth, or I am awesome. One of my favorite affirmations is, I am that I am, and I am amazing. Now that sounds like maybe I'm blissing out or spiritually bypassing some sort of the heavier things, but it's the idea and the concept that no matter what is going on, I am amazing. The vibration of unity, the vibration of love can never be destroyed because it was never created. It's always existed, or source, the universe, or whatever. But the idea that I am an amazing person, that is something that my soul holds. My soul knows that I'm an amazing person. And the only time I'm not an amazing person is when I tell myself I'm not, or I allow myself to be distracted by others and I give my energy away unconsciously. Now, if you give your energy away consciously, that's a different story. But it's the affirmations that make you feel better in life, that bring up these things. Part of this too is shadow work, exploring the parts of yourself that feel wounded or disempowered. Looking at that abuse, looking at that past trauma, looking at the circumstance you're in, and like, why does this bug me? Why does it hurt me? What story am I telling myself? If you were abused as a child, or had your heart broken by somebody, or were sexually assaulted, are you still walking around with that label of, I am Tom's punching bag, or I was sexually assaulted, and because of that, I now feel this way and get anxiety all the time? When you do shadow work and you go, oh, my anxiety is attached to this, and I don't want to feel that anymore. And so then you switch the identity. What's the identity of someone that doesn't feel anxiety? What's the identity of someone that trusts the opposite sex and isn't afraid of being sexually abused? What does that person look like? What do they think? And so doing the shadow work is shifting that identity, sometimes of reframing, finding where the pain is and going, okay, now, what's the new story? What's the new name tag I want to wear? Because we all wear personas, we all wear masks. And it's the idea that we get to choose the mask versus an unconscious mask that comes on. And this is something I can talk about in a different video, and I probably will in the future. But if you want to hear more about masks that we wear consciously or unconsciously, leave a comment down below. A gratitude practice also really helps shift this into the idea of what you want, taking gratitude for something that happened to you. So like in the example I shared earlier of someone that stole $80,000 from the company, or $40,000 twice, I say it that way for a reason, but because that's part of the story I've reframed of like, well, no, the first time they took the money, I was against it, but as a company, we agreed it was okay. The second time, it was a straight up lie, a straight up stealing. And part of that, though, is thank you. Thank you for stealing $40,000. Thank you for not seeing my true power. Thank you for ripping me off and hurting me in a way that allowed me to know that's not how I want to do business, and to be aware of people that might be that way. It raised my intuition, it raised my senses, and also allows me to pick better people. Or thank you for showing up lazy, or thank you, employee that I hired that did not do what you were meant to do. And you know what? Yeah, I might have paid you some money for a long time, and that didn't work out very well because you couldn't do the job. But thank you for showing me that. Thank you for teaching me that lesson. Thank you for abusing me as a child. Thank you for teaching me what conditional love looked like, so that I could understand what unconditional love is, so I can create unconditional love for myself. Thank you for making me think God doesn't love me, so I had to work really hard and discover God myself and realize that God does care about us and that we're all connected in one beings. And so it's like being grateful for some of those hard things because of what they let you into life. So having gratitude for it. And the fifth one is forgiveness work. Now, this is releasing the blame, but not condoning it. No, it's I forgive you for doing that, but I do not allow you or condone that that was okay. I just don't make it part of my story anymore. It's not part of me that it's like every time I think of that person, I get angry, or every time I hear, that name, or anytime I'm going to go spend time with my parents, I'm not like, oh man, these and this happened. And so, man, I'm so angry. It's okay. Well, that's that. I forgive you. I don't condone it. It doesn't mean I'm going to allow you to be in full all aspects of my life, or so forth, but it's forgiving so that the energy doesn't hold on to you anymore. So it's not part of you. It's not something you're just draining your energy anymore, but you get to live your own life fully and authentically. So this is what victimhood is, and these are ways to flip out of it, is to journal, have some daily affirmations, do the shadow work, have a gratitude practice, and work on forgiveness. And if this is something that you're really struggling with and you would like deeper help with it, then you can click the link down below and jump on a call with me, and we can talk about stepping into coaching to do some of these deeper things to really help you move out of victimhood and into herohood. Or if nothing else, there's another awesome video going to pop up probably over there or somewhere real soon here that you can watch. Peace, love, namaste, my friends.